Good evening. Tonight with Tim Modise, and that's your program, which in the show we talk to one of the newly elected leaders of the ANC in Gauteng, and later we'll be taking you to the Joburg Theatre. Welcome. 3 out of 5 African National Congress Gauteng regions held conferences where they elected new leaders over this past weekend. The Joburg region elected Geoff Makhubo as the new chairman, and he replaces the city's former mayor, Park Stow. These regional elections are setting the scene for the Gauteng provincial election to be held later this month. The province occupies a critical place in the fortunes of the governing party as the country prepares for the elections next year. The ANC's influence has diminished with the loss of the Joburg and Tshwane metros 2 years ago. And we ask, how are the new leaders going to make a difference for their organization this time? And we are joined by Mr. Geoff Makhubo, the newly elected chairperson of the ANC in Joburg. Geoff, pleasure to have you with us here, sir.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
And congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Huge, big responsibilities. Do they come at the right time, the wrong time for you? I mean, as I've already indicated, the ANC's influence somewhat diminished 2 years ago when the party lost the control of Joburg and the control of Tshwane. So you're facing a very steep hill in the forthcoming elections.
Yes, it's a daunting task. It's a mammoth task that is facing us, myself and the collective that was elected last week. We're quite clear that the first task is to consolidate the organization in preparation for 2019 provincial and general elections, in order that we should contribute to the retention of Gauteng by the ANC, and of course the retention of the country by the ANC.
Now, the provincial and regional elections of the ANC in other parts of the country have been mired in controversy, people going to the courts and so forth. You didn't have that experience at all in your case?
No. Our conference went smoothly. Of course, there was contestation from the deputy chair to the treasurer. There was contestation, but it's a healthy democracy, nothing untoward. Difficult as the conference was, but we managed to conclude the conference.
And there are 2 other regions that have not had their elections, the West Rand and Tshwane. Any particular reason for that? Is it because the slates have not been prepared yet, or there's nothing underhanded that's going on?
No, I mean, I suppose you have to face them. I mean, you can't have 5 congresses sitting in one weekend. It will stretch the resources of the Provincial Executive Committee.
Yeah.
So the 2 conferences, Ekurhuleni and Sidibeng, they sat at St. George's. We were at the Cedar Park Hotel. So the Provincial Executive Committee spread themselves to the 3 conferences, and then of course this weekend it will be the 2, Tshwane and the West Rand.
What would you say is different this time around for the ANC in Gauteng? Obviously, having lost the Joburg and Tshwane means, you know, the situation is no longer the same as it used to be in 2014 when we had the national provincial elections then. This time going into 2019, it's a different ball game altogether.
Yes, it is. We had a setback in August 2016. For us, it was a wake-up call to say, stop being complacent. Don't take the support of the people for granted. Close the social distance between communities and ourselves. So for us, it sent a signal to the ANC itself that we have to do better for 2019 and of course 2021. So I mean, we've accepted where we are. We in opposition in Johannesburg, but of course we think we are effective in opposition and reconnecting with communities to reclaim our space.
Now, the politics within the provincial legislature here, you've got a new issue that's emerged, and that's got to do with the chief whip. Recently, the Democratic Alliance moving a motion or placing a motion that he should be asked to step down, and you oppose that motion. What is your position as the ANC regarding the allegations against Mr. Brian Hlongwa?
Well, that's a provincial matter. I operate at a regional level. However, just to comment that the issue of Comrade Brian Hlongwa has been there for a long time. It was sitting with the law enforcement agency. I don't know why they've not acted on it, so that they can prove his innocence or they can prove his guilt. Justice delayed is justice denied. I mean, it's been there since I think 2009 or something, or 2011. So we think it's a bit unfair. But as for the DA, they politic with it every time. I mean, in 2016 they raised it again. Just because 2019 is coming, they raise it again.
Well, but it's politics.
It's politics. I think they've got no issues to raise. They're clutching on straws. They put a motion against the Premier, the motion against Brian Hlongwa. We think that they are short of issues to do and they want to remain relevant. We don't think they are an issue. They really have given their power away to the Red Berets.
But it's not going to be very easy for the ANC in 2019, as we've already alluded to, with the loss of Joburg and of Tshwane. Now, what do you think are the key issues that you've got to be very active on going into 2019 as the ANC? You've been part of the executive of Tshwane in the past under the former Mayor Pakstau. And you are part of the team that was ousted, you see, so, but you've got to go out and prove yourselves. Obviously, the support itself has diminished.
Not true. I was part of that collective in the city that lost power in 2016. I was part of the collective of the ANC that ran elections at that time. We clear what the issues are. Research, we've done research pre and post elections. We've reflected on what the issues that contributed to us not mastering 50% plus one. Remember, we're still the biggest party in the city, but we did not just cross the 50% threshold.
It's a thin line.
It's a very thin line.
It's a very thin line in the bigger scheme of things.
In the bigger scheme of things, we've lost power.
And especially the province now. When you look at the national picture, right, and the ANC having been government, the national government since 1994, and of course ANC losing Western Cape, Gauteng being the biggest province economically speaking, population size speaking. If you lose Gauteng, then in effect the ANC, will be having Pyrrhic victory if they were to win the national election. So it's very important, I suppose, for the organization to win Gauteng, but it does not look that bright for you.
Well, it's critical that we retain power in Gauteng. We think that the mistakes of 2016 are being dealt with, especially in our own province, in our own region as well. As I say that we know exactly what the issues are, and we're working hard to turn the fortunes around, especially on those issues. If you look at what happened in 2016, there was actually a mass stay away from our strongholds, and the strongholds of the oppositions came out. So even though we won most of the wards, but we won them marginally. And historically, we used to win them decisively. So then the key issue is, why did people stay away? What were they unhappy with?
Yes.
And immediately after elections, we went on a roadshow, we went on the ground, we've been doing polling, we've been doing research, not to assume that people are angry because of one, two thing or three things. I mean, one of the reasons why people stayed away, the mood was just negative. In around April, May 2016, there was that Constitutional Court judgment on Nkandla. That dampened the spirits of people.
Because they look at their organization and they wondered why the organization itself never took any action against all the people, including the former president, who are alleged to be involved in corruption. If anything, the ANC defended the president at the time, and he took the opposition parties to take this matter to the courts, and the courts pronouncing in the manner that they did.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a mistake we made, and fortunately, I'll say fortunately, guardedly, that our strong voters did not switch. They stayed at home. I mean, they punished us by not turning out in the polls. Now the task is to get them out and get them out to vote for the African National Congress.
And what is it this time around that you believe will persuade them to support the ANC?
We've been engaging. We've been engaging with civil society. We've been engaging with communities on the ground. And I think that the 54th National Conference in Nazareth last year sent the right signal. It was not perfect, it was not 100%. But the New Dawn, the Tumamina brigades are there to say, look, go and send me, reach out to the people. In fact, the renewal of the ANC, the focus on jobs, which was another thing, by the way, unemployment was very big in the elections.
Which remains the case.
It remains very stubborn.
Yeah.
It remains very, very stubborn. And then, of course, unity of the African National Congress. The divisions that were there in the ANC in certain provinces contributed as well. Now we are a metropolitan province. We are an urban province. there's media, there's everything here. The loss of urban provinces by ruling parties is pervasive throughout the world. When you start losing power, I mean, ZANU-PF, when it started being challenged, it started in Harare, Bulawayo, those urban centers. Yeah. Because people are aware what's going on, they've got opinions, the chattering classes are here. So that's what we'll be dealing with in our leadership. Yeah.
And you are an experienced person, you've been part of this, and that's why I made reference to that earlier on. Meaning you've got a sense of what is it that's the people are critical of, what's ailing the people. Now, going to 2019, what do you think the people want? And whilst you're thinking the answer through, I want to also add that there was some euphoria around the new dawn that the president spoke about, but it seems to also be in decline. That people are asking a whole number of questions. That there are allegations of corruption, there's rampant crime. We see the cash in transit heists, a whole number of things. Prominent people implicated in all sorts of wrongdoings, but they do not see any arrests being effected. And therefore, they're saying, why does it feel like it's going to be the same old story?
I think,
what are the changes?
Euphoria is euphoria. World Cup euphoria, 2010, it wanes with time. Now, the issue is, how do you translate that euphoria into visible action? I mean, looking at what's happening nationally, I think I'm quite happy that our government, our leadership is confronting the malfeasance that's happening in state-owned entities, in government, whether it's SARS, whether it's Transnet, whether it's Denel. I think they're confronting it. It's uncomfortable, it's difficult. In provinces where there are issues, our government is coming in and intervening. I'm happy. I think something is being done. Probably not quick enough. You won't please everyone, but I think whatever the issues around corruption and perception of corruption are being dealt with, are being uprooted. The president is very resolute. In our own province, I think the premier is doing exactly the same. Any reports, the other day was reporting that I'm sending all the reports to SIU.
How many reports?
I've got no idea what the premier would have sent those reports. But he announced in the media that, look, whatever reports I have in any department, I'm sending to the SIU and to the Hawks to action. Now that shows willingness to deal with a cancer that has been part of the body politic of South Africa. Now, the opposition don't always try and paint a picture that nothing is happening. But the truth of the matter is, if you look at the fight against corruption, it's quite there. The fight against joblessness. I mean, the president announced hunters to go and hunt for investments.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really sending a possible message that with the pest that we have in South Africa, it's not enough.
Obviously, ordinary citizens would like to see the government succeed and the country prosper. But I'm sure you, being one of the leaders now as the newly elected Joburg Region's chairperson, you should be concerned that you can't mention ANC without referring to corruption so repeatedly. I recently, one representative from the Northwest complained that Northwest was number 4 in terms of corruption, but was already placed under administration, and felt that was unfair, right? And the ANC itself issuing a statement recently saying that it is shocked as an organization, shocked at corruption, which led to shock amongst people that the ANC is shocked about corruption. What did you make of that statement?
I interpreted it differently. That they say the extent and the depth of corruption in the state-owned entities, as they were uncovered in the work being done by government, to say, whoa, we really thought this thing is just a superficial thing, 1 or 2 people. As and when we now do the real work to get the real perpetrators of this thing, we're quite shocked about it. Now, the way it was reported, because that thing came from the manifesto workshop and all that. So when reports and presentations were being made in the different commissions, and people were saying, it's as bad as this.
Yeah. Well, many people would say, but we always knew this.
And I think it was. I think people, Pratim, one of the things that politics is about is like, how do you get your opponent and paint your opponent as bad as possible? Now, the corruption thing has been coming for a long time. And I think around 2016, parties managed to make it #1 issue and succeeded in linking it with the ANC. as I told you about the Constitutional Court judgment,
Yes.
that gave them an opportunity to say, you see now, this thing has got a face, and its face is the African National Congress. And I think at that point, it started being believable. Now we have to say, okay, let's accept. We've already paid the price for it. We lost Nelson Mandela, we lost Joburg, we lost Tshwane. We didn't get 50%, more than 50% in Ekurhuleni. We lost Metsima Hall in Sasolburg. We didn't get more than 50% in Rustenburg. We didn't get more than 50% in Krugersdorp, in Mohale, Mulimul, and Tabazimbi. Now those are areas that ordinarily the ANC would have worked.
Yeah.
So what does it mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean? How do you reverse those fortunes? Because if it was in the stock market, they said our losses have been priced into the share price. How do you now get the share price up? That's really what we should be doing. That's our focus of our executive now.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
And we hope that we'll have you back here once you've settled down and then you've identified the issues that we need to focus on. I suppose at this time it's more the internal processes that you're working on, the election of the new leadership of the province and so forth.
Yes.
But otherwise, good luck to you.
Thank you, Tim.
That's Geoff Makhubo, the newly elected chairperson of the ANC in Joburg. When we return, we'll be looking at the theatres of Johannesburg.